Muslims across South Africa will start the month of Ramadan on Sunday. The United Ulama Council of South Africa says the moon for the Islamic month of Ramadan, 1443, has not been sighted in South Africa. This will mean that Muslims will take part in daily fasting over the next few weeks. Joining us to get a sense of what to expect is Moulana Ebrahim Bham. Moulana, thank you so much for your time and thank you for joining us. I think some of us know the holy month of Ramadan to be a month of fasting, but talk to us about the significance of the holy month.
Thank you so much for the opportunity and good afternoon to all your viewers. You know, fasting is one aspect of the blessed month of Ramadan. We believe that Ramadan is the most significant spiritually, the month of the Muslim calendar. And there are many aspects that are tied and attached to the month of Ramadan. It is a month in which the holy book of the Muslims, the glorious and the sacred book of Muslims, the Quran, was revealed. And as such, there are many aspects attached to the month of Ramadan. By and large, to people who are, non-Muslims, they would look upon it as fasting being one of the most significant aspects of the month of Ramadan. And it is true that the Almighty has chosen the blessed month of Ramadan for the obligation. And of course, it is one of the obligatory requirements and practices of the Muslims. So the Almighty has chosen the blessed month of Ramadan for the compulsory practice of fasting.
Mr. Bham, I suppose what would be great right now is for you to take us through what a typical day would look like during Ramadan.
Yes, let me just go through the day. I always, in fact, I was just telling the congregation yesterday that there's a big change in schedule. I mean, our days are very different from normal days. But just bear in mind, as I told the congregation, that Ramadan is not only the changing of our daily routine and our schedule, it is there to transform our life and transform our character and transform our mindset. But let me just go through, and I think it will be of interest to everyone. We will start off a day around about, say, 4 o'clock in the morning. We have to eat before 5 o'clock. It will change according to the days and the sunrise and the sunset. But in this particular time of the calendar year, we will have to start off our fast, which starts off at dawn. So it will start off, for example, tomorrow at 5 o'clock. It will more or less remain the very same with the 5-10 minute difference till the end of the month. And that will be our last meal for the day. We will then go for our morning prayers, which is, for example, in the mosque in which I am going to be. It is at 5:25 in the morning. We will have a small session of a reading of the Holy Quran and a translation of it after the morning prayers. And then, of course, people will go into the daily routine. There will be absolutely no eating, no drinking of water, no intimacy right till sunset. Presently, sunset in South Africa is 6 o'clock. So we're looking at a 13-hour period in which Muslims would be staying away from food and drink for the fast, and then we will break the fast at about 6 o'clock.
Mr. Bham, given the fact that this is a time of spiritual discipline, as you've described, the nature of Ramadan is also a transformative one. I'm curious about the kinds of contemplations or the kinds of reflections that Muslims who are observing this holy month ought to be having during this time.
I'll just give you two or three very important tips. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, on the eve of the month of Ramadan, he addressed the people of the time and he said, Ya ayyuhan nas kad azallakum shahrun azim, shahrun mubarak. There comes upon you now a very great month, a very blessed month. And as such, there were few things that he made mention of. One, he said, shahrul muwasat, it's a month of sympathy. It's a month of sympathy for human beings. Now, people would naturally ask the question, what's the difference between the month of Ramadan and other months in terms of building sympathy for humanity? And I normally contend with this by saying that it's sometimes difficult to inculcate sympathy and compassion when you're having 3 square meals a day. And that is the reality of many people who are well-to-do. And of course, we know the very famous incident at the time of the French Revolution when the people who were in the helm of affairs were told that the people cannot afford bread. And they said, well, if they can't afford bread, let them eat cake. And that is the type of feeling we try to inculcate, that eating 3 square meals a day makes it difficult for you to inculcate compassion for the poor. So when you are feeling the pangs of hunger while you are fasting, you reach out to the poor. You feel the pain of the poor. You feel the pangs of hunger they are going through. They are doing it because of circumstances. You are doing it because of a religious requirement. But there is no doubt that the compassion comes in. The Prophet Muhammad went on to say it is a month of discipline. And what a great discipline we learn. You stay away from things that are permitted. You even stay away from holy water, and we all know that there is a holy water that comes from Mecca that we regard it as sacred. We drink it with relish. But you ask any Muslim, drink while you are fasting, and said, no, I'm fasting. Now, can you imagine if you are disciplining yourself to stay away from things that are permitted, things that are blessed, things that are sacred, how important it is for you to stay away from things that the Almighty has prohibited? Lying, deceiving, cheating, robbing people, exploiting people, injustice, so many other different things. So it's a month of patience, it's a month of sympathy, it's a month that we believe, and I think this is one of the most cardinal aspects of the month, is to gain closeness to our Creator. And the Almighty says in the Holy Scriptures, in the Holy Quran, the sacred Quran, Ala bi dhikrillahi tatma'innul qulub, in the remembrance of the Almighty will hearts find contentment. And we firmly believe, without remembrance of the Almighty, you will never ever get true sense of.
Mr. Bham, thank you so much. I really appreciate that description that you've just given us. It's also not lost on us that over the last 2.5 years or so, Muslims across the globe, not just South Africa, have had to observe Ramadan amidst a global health pandemic that has been disruptive to all sorts of people. And I am curious about the effects, the impact that COVID-19 has had on the Muslim community in South Africa, and how they have had to perhaps change in the slightest of ways, but slightly change how they observe this religious period.
Well, there is no doubt that, and we are all aware, in the first lockdown, for example, there was no congregational prayers in the mosque. As such, people made their own small get-together within their own family structures, in their own homes. In many ways, it was not the norm. It was not the norm. We are always accustomed to, and of course, this year, one of the reasons why Muslims are looking forward to Ramadan is that there is a certain degree of normality. So we have much greater congregations that are allowed indoors compared to the last 2-3 years. The first lockdown, for example, most of the people read their prayers in the home. But of course, they did it with their families. And I know of people who have memorized the Holy Quran, and you are required. As I made mention in the first instance about our daily routine, we also have a daily routine which will start off this evening from just after 7:30, where we do a complete reading of the Holy Quran over the month. Sometimes people will do 2 or 3 readings, sometimes people will do 1 reading of the Holy Quran. But it's a congregational prayer that starts off at 7:30 and maybe perhaps finishes at 9 o'clock. So in the first lockdown, people could not do that. They did it in their homes, in their own small, within their own, with their wives and their families, etc. But it was another dimension, and a lot of people said that for the first time we could do it in a much smaller scale, but a very intense scale. That was one of the aspects. Last year, obviously, there was a little bit less restriction, and this year, of course, there is a certain degree of normality, and people are looking forward to have those prayers in congregation.